Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming. So this is our April Kentish Council meeting, and I would like to welcome the councillors and our staff here tonight, and the members of the gallery. Thank you for coming to our meeting tonight. As it is 6:01, I will begin the meeting now. So our first agenda item is apologies and leave of absence. Councillor Simone Haig's leave of absence was endorsed by Council on the 21st of January 2025. Item number 2, declaration of pecuniary and conflicts of interest. I will request whether councillors have a pecuniary or a conflict of interest in any item on the agenda. If you do, would you please fill in the form and give it to Mandy?
Madam Mayor, just a question, please. I would like to ask, is this meeting being videoed and audioed under our policy? Is it being videoed and audioed?
Yes, thank you, Councillor Blenkhorn. It is. Did you wonder because we're in the town hall? Well, we certainly have all the technology in place. Thank you. Number 3, confirmation of minutes. Confirmation of minutes of the ordinary meeting held on the 18th of March. I have a recommendation that the minutes of the ordinary meeting of the Kentish Council held at the Council Meeting Room, Sheffield, on the 18th of March 2025 be taken as read. Could I have someone to move that, please? Councillor Lane, Councillor Hughes. Are there any questions or comments regarding the minutes of the ordinary meeting of March? As there are no comments or questions, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Anyone against? Then that is carried. I'll go on to number 4, which is presentation. We do not have any tonight. Notices of motion, none. Petitions, nil. Response to questions raised at a prior ordinary council meeting. I have a recommendation that the responses to the questions from Sam Ralph, Kush Allison, Andrew Stanley and Katrina Evans at the council meeting held on the 18th of March 2025 be received and noted. Could I have someone to move that? Councillor Richards, Councillor Dickinson. All those in favour? Anyone against? Then that is carried. I shall go on now to the recommendation that the responses to the questions from Sam Ralph at the annual general meeting held on the 25th of March 2025 be received and noted. Could I have someone to move that? Councillor Hughes, Councillor Dickinson. All those in favour?
I'd like to ask a question on that, Madam Mayor.
Yes, Councillor Blenkhorn.
I noticed one of the questioners asked regarding the Rowton RSL Club concern about the title of the building being handed back to RSL Tasmania, and you more or less stated that the initial response would be that you'd contact the RSL state president to order to gain a greater understanding of the matter. I said, has he been contacted?
Yes, we have written a letter to the president. Yes, we have. Thank you for your question. So we have a recommendation from the annual general meeting. All those in favour? Anyone against? Then that is carried. I'll go on to number 8, which is public participation. Questions on notice from the public. I have a recommendation that Council, in relation to questions on notice received from Pip Rice, endorse the response and proposed and authorise its release. Could I have someone to move that? Councillor Lane and Councillor Richards. Are there any comments or questions? I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Anyone against? Then that is carried. Public participation, questions without notice from the public. We have a rather large gallery here tonight, and if anybody would like to ask a question without notice here tonight, I would ask that you would come to the microphone, that you would give your name and the topic at which you would like to ask your question, please. Keep your preamble to a minimum because we only have 15 minutes for question time at our council meeting. So I would just remind you that to be respectful and ask your question so that we can take that question and consider that reply. Thank you. Has anybody got a question without notice tonight? Thank you. Would you like to come to the podium first? Thank you, Mr. Ralph.
My question's about the bike track, the development permit. The development permit for the Wild Mersey bike track was passed by the Kentish Council in November 2019. It had a considerable number of conditions attached to it. I was unable to find a condition that allowed someone other than the Kentish Council to approve the bridge over the Mersey River for the bike track. If able to find that permit that allows that to happen, could I please have a copy?
Good, thank you, Mr. Ralph. I'll take that question on notice, and we will get back to you on that question. Thank you. Could you just... Yep. Thank you for the question. Sorry, thank you for that. Is there anybody that would like to ask a question? Could you give your name and the topic you would like to ask a question about, please?
Hello, Philippa Rice here. And Mayor, before I start my 3 minutes for my statement, may I introduce myself, please?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Philippa Rice from Claremont, and I was born and raised on the northwest coast. I'm the granddaughter of a former East Devonport GP. I'm a registered nurse and a major in the Australian Army. You have an emailed copy of my full statement for minuting, including my GP's personal and professional experience, and I'd like to pass it in now for tabling, please. On the podium, please. On the podium. Thank you so much. Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
I applaud the Kentish residents and councillors on their recent overwhelming vote for transparency, public advocacy and accountability at your recent AGM. Would you please start the clock? Over the last several years, unthinkable crimes against humanity have taken place, and the stories documented by Forest of the Fallen and others stand as evidence of an ongoing atrocity. There were many red flags for me as a nurse and an immuniser at the beginning of the COVID vaccine rollout, including all previous attempts to make coronavirus vaccines failed, changing the definition of vaccine to accommodate mRNA gene therapy, lack of informed consent given by health practitioners to the public. Some colleagues I knew wrote, "I do not consent" on their consent form, and they were injected anyway.
Excuse me, could I just... this is question time.
Yes.
Do you have a question to ask us? Not a statement. We don't have statements in question time. So is there a question that you would like to ask?
This is part of the question time in support of the motion that was put up by Robin Thomas.
It's just question time now. So could you ask the question? 15 minutes. So could you ask the question?
As part of the 3 minutes. And so this is... Okay, consider this the preamble to the questions, and I've handed you in my full statement. To my question that you read out and tabled tonight, which I believe has only got partial answer provided.
I'll let you
by
continue
the
for the moment then. Thank you. Please keep to the time.
Please start the clock again. The government chanting safe and effective for new products when they were minimally trialled in humans and the trial rats had all died. No proof was given to back their claims, no scientific debate, obviously no long-term safety data, and plenty of real-world evidence the vaccinated are still getting COVID. Lack of disclosure of ingredients in the injections, shown by the empty inserts with the vials. Lack of liability by the manufacturers and liability protection under the PrEP Act. Claiming they were approved when they were only provisionally approved under emergency use authorisation. Claim the ingredients would remain in the deltoid muscle of the injected arm. Regular side effects following injection, gaslighting and lack of reporting of side effects, encouraging staff who were not nurse immunisers to give these injections. Opening venues in communities and schools to reach more people without sufficient regard to safety and best practice. Lack of autopsies. Claims of death due to COVID determined by high cycle thresholds and thus high false positive PCR swabs. Radical dismissal of natural immunity, which is far superior, withholding and suppression of effective off-patent treatments in lieu of patented vaccination, conflicts of interest, incentivising vaccines with financial gain, discrimination by refusing treatment or medical care for those declining vaccination, injecting lactating and pregnant women, usually not advised, government claims they could inject your children without parental consent, ongoing injections required for variants when the virus continues to mutate, flagrant disregard for the law and human rights, and now the declared DNA contamination in the mRNA vials. At no stage were we given risk assessments in determining your risk of COVID with or without the injections or risk of injury by the injections. The Pfizer report shows there were so many adverse events in the first 3 months, they had to hire 2,400 new employees. Public confidence has been shattered and likely never be regained. Australia's seen a rise in 61,000 excess deaths, and Tassie's excess deaths are leading the nation. Understandably, there's reluctance to take pharmaceutical agents these days. Trust in the health system is the lowest I've seen. Medical negligence became apparent as healthcare workers had become agents of the government and did what they were told, no longer protecting the public, yet under the illusion they were. Every council and every individual councillor has legal, ethical and moral duty to expose the cover-up and not be complicit. There is more at stake than council reputation and personal liability for ignoring this evidence.
So your 3
Public
minutes is up.
welfare
Thank you.
is
Could you
at
ask
stake.
your question now,
Our
please?
children's future and every generation that follows.
Thank you. Could
Thank
you ask your question? Thank you.
So I've given you my question on notice.
Right,
Yes,
thank
yes.
you.
So just in relation to that, to the answer that you tabled in the agenda, I believe has only partially answered my question. So is it possible for you to also include a comment in relation to injecting children on council facilities, not just in the school immunisation program?
Okay, thank you. We'll take that on notice.
Thank you.
Thank you
Appreciate that.
for your statement and question.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions without notice, please? All right, we'll have one. Thank you. We need a question. It is question time.
Well, this is a comment I've been requested to read for Shane and Monica Bones. They were, I'll read it as he's written it. He's requested me to read it for him. Because of his PTSD, he's actually can't come into this building with the council. So I'm doing it on his behalf.
It is question time. You have to have a question, please.
The question is, can I read this on behalf
No, you have
of
to have a question about a
paramedic
topic, please.
that work for Sheffield Community?
It's question time. Now, questions without notice. So if there was a question before after the preamble, then you can speak for a couple of minutes before you ask the question. But you have to ask a question. We don't just have statements.
Well, could I read?
Not if there's not a question, no.
I'm sure.
Thank you. Could you keep... We need to finish up question time. We only have 15 minutes and this is taking up time.
Ms Mayor, there's been statements read out in December and at the AGM.
So we are in a council meeting... Mr. Allison, we are in a council meeting and we are in public question time, which is question time. So could you ask a question on behalf of Mr. Bones, please? Think of a question. If not, we'll have to just get somebody else if somebody else has got a question. Otherwise, we'll finish the time. Thank you. All right.
Could you table this, please?
We'll take it on notice. Just put it underneath there where the other papers are, please.
And I'll let someone
Could
else.
you give us your name, which I did ask for at the beginning, if your name?
Yes, Janet Woolacott.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. So we've got a question down the back. I said it's question time. Thanks, Mrs. Thomas. If you've got a question, please come to the microphone. And you have to ask a question, please.
Please, Kate, and...
I'm the Mayor, thank you.
sorry. Please, whole council, the implicit question in these, the letter that Jan wants to read from our beautiful AMBO and physiotherapist who were working in I believe perhaps
But there's no question,
your medical
Mrs.
clinic.
Thomas.
The question is to read it from them because they're both sick.
We've taken it on notice, thank you. We've taken the statement. Thank you, and we'll consider that. Thank you. Are there any other questions in question time? Thank you. Mr. Stanley.
My name's Andrew Stanley from Railton, 23 Ennis Avenue. I just noticed before that you said there was a response to my question last time round, so that's after this. Is that correct, for starters? Yep. Well, I'll go to my last question because I don't understand how a lot of these processes work. But can you help me understand your process of how to go about a non-confidence motion in you, the Kentish Council, and just maybe you can finally help in doing some good for this Kentish community? Can you help me out with how do I go about that?
We'll take that on notice and we'll write back to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Stanley. Are there any other questions? Yes, thank you. If you could just give your name and the topic that you would like to ask your question about.
Hello, thank you very much for allowing a question. My name's Philip Jewell. I live outside this shire, but as per a lot of people here, we have a duty of care to all the citizens of every shire and across the nation. And so when there is a problem that we can see, we feel impelled to deal with that as best we can. What I've seen of this council, which I would normally not attend, is that there is a lot of resistance to listen to the people. My question would be, it is obvious what the will of the people is. You would normally get, say, 6 people at an AGM and you got about 100. So there is a topic of significance to your community. The community has made it very clear what it is that they would like you to do, and yet you seem unwilling to do that. The question would be, are you willing to represent the will of the people rather than your own will? You're not here to represent your wishes, you're here to represent the ratepayers.
Thank you.
I'll add to that. So my sister, who also doesn't live in this council, is vaccine injured and unable to work ever again. That is a result of this vaccine that you have been suckered into believing is a real and beneficial thing. The evidence is all there. You need to go and do your homework. The people are trying to point you to the goodwill of doing your research and not being misled. If they've got to create laws on misinformation to defend their own narrative, then they aren't willing to hear the truth. My second question would be, has this council been directed by the Local Government Association to avoid this topic? Are you voting on conscience? Are the votes of the individual councillors here who are elected to represent the ratepayers, are they voting freely of their own will, or are they directed as to what they are to do? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. As there are no other questions, we shall move on to one more question. Our time is nearly up, our 15 minutes. So, Mr. Crowley, I'll give you...
Jim Crowley. I haven't got a question, Madam Mayor, but I have a statement that I'd like to put forward, which very much mirrors the themes put forward in the last speaker up here. So if I could just...
Have you got a question to go?
No question, it's just
well, then we won't
statement.
have statements unless there's a question.
But I would like to table it in the
yes,
same
you can
way
table
these other
it.
documents
Just
here
put it
are.
down under there and we'll
For
table
sure.
it for consideration. Thank you. Right. One more question. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak here tonight. So my name is Naomi Cooley. I'm from Acacia Hills. And my question is following up to Robin's question with notice regarding the TGA. So I would like to clarify Council's answer regarding its obligations under Section 65 of the Local Government Act. I note that Council confirms in its answer that the Federal Gene Technology Advisory Committee is indeed part of the appropriate body which the Council relies on for expertise. Now, I have reviewed the evidence presented earlier to the Council regarding the DNA contamination in the COVID-19 vaccines. I believe that that evidence in those exhibits clearly establishes that the TGA has discredited legitimate science-backed findings as misinformation. It has failed to support evidence-based medicine. They have failed science by suppressing genuine inquiry. They have also massively conflicted by source of funding. Now, does the Council, this is my question, does the Council consider that the TGA is compromised as a provider of expert advice for the purposes of the Local Government Act Section 65? And does the Council in fact have a duty to seek wider opinion of qualified persons in this matter? Indeed, to seek investigation and reporting by the appropriate expert body as proposed by this motion?
Thank you for your question.
Thank
Take
you.
that on notice. Thank you. Mr. Allison. This will be the last question because it's our 15 minutes for question time is well and truly over.
You probably should extend it, Ms Mayor.
Well, it hasn't been moved. We're finishing up question time after your question. Thank you.
Now I've just lost my page. My name's Kush Allison, Port Sorrel, Tasmania. I'll just find it again. My question, I have two questions. One is relevant to 28K Code of Conduct, Panel 1, decision making. 28U, compliance with the Code of Conduct in performing the functions and exercising the powers of his or her office with a council. A councillor is to comply with the provisions of the Code of Conduct. Part 1, decision making. A councillor must bring an open and unprejudiced mind to all matters being decided in the course of the councillor's duties, including when making planning decisions, which is irrelevant tonight, but the first part is. Number 2, a councillor must make decisions free from personal bias and prejudgment. And number 3, a councillor in making decisions must give genuine and impartial consideration to all relevant information known to the councillor, or of which the councillor should be reasonably aware. Now, you're all professionals. You should have been researching this. You're probably the most informed council in Australia. In October, you received the Port Hedland motion. In December, Councillor Blenkhorn moved the motion on with the same information.
Could you ask your question, please, because I'm going to finish up
just
now.
Explaining, and then you had the AGM, and now tonight,
Thank
obviously,
you.
the motion will be read. Miss Mayor, you'd be the most informed mayor in Australia because you'll be reading that motion 3 times.
Thank you. Would you ask your question?
So my question is, to the 3 points of the Code of Conduct, are all councillors abiding by
Thank you for
that
your
Code
question.
of Conduct?
Thank you.
And my second question is relevant to my answer to last month, where I requested the answers to what corporate governance model does the council operate under, and is it a rules-based
You've
or
been
a
given
principles-based?
that answer at the last
Yes,
meeting.
so
So
that leads to my question, where it was answered
Thank
that you
you.
operate under both, and one under the principles is your values. So through your values leads to my question tonight. Could you please release, in the best interests of the community, your social compact statement,
thank you.
please?
Thank you for your question.
Did
and
you
I'll
get that,
finish it
Mr.
there.
Mayor?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go on now to item 11, which is Development and Regulatory Services Department. 11.1 is the Building Department report, and I have. No, I'm taking them on notice. Thank you, Mr. Allison. And I would ask that you do not interrupt and interject through our council meeting, or I will ask you to leave the meeting. Thank you. We have a recommendation that the report advising the building and plumbing applications and notifications received for the month of March 2025 be received. Could I have someone to move that? Councillor Cassidy and Councillor Lane. Are there any questions regarding the building department report? Councillor Blenkhorn.
Sorry, Rodney. Councillor Blenkhorn, please use your mic.
Yes, is that anyone can hear that? It's quite obviously we've got some serious problems in this community with building. It's so hard to get anything done. The red tape has just reached another level. Over $20,000 to get plans in to have a house developed in this municipality is just showing some of the restrictions that people have in front of them. And it's just highlighted again here tonight to me, you know. 2 buildings in the past 30 days. I don't know. We as a council need to be starting to do something for the community and making things easier instead of putting hurdles up in front of people and making things so hard. Because we've got people in our municipality living in caravans, couch surfing. Some of the standards of the people are living in is just absolutely disgraceful. You know, we've got people living in sheds with no fire alarms, smoke alarms, running water. Until we start working with the community and making things easier to get things built, this problem will keep getting worse.
Good. Thank you, Councillor Blankhorn. Are there any other comments or questions? Then I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Aye. Anyone against? Councillor Blankhorn voted against. Thank you. I'll go on to now 11.2, which is Planning Development Application Status Report. I have a recommendation that the status report of development applications for the month of March 2025 be received. Could I have someone to move that, please? Councillor Hughes, Councillor Dickinson. Are there any comments or questions from the councillors in regard to this? No, as there are no comments or questions, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Anyone against? Then that is carried. I'll go on to item 12, which is the Office of the General Manager. And we have the Kentish Council Annual Plan, Quarter 3 Progress, update from January to March. And we have a recommendation that the report by the Manager of Corporate and Business Services concerning the 24-25 Kentish Council Annual Plan, Quarter 3 Progress Update, January to March, be received, and Council receive and note the 24-25 Kentish Council Annual Plan Quarter 3 Progress Update for the quarter January to March 2025. Could I have someone to move that? Councillor Richards, Councillor Thwaites. Are there any comments about the quarter report? No, as there are no comments or questions, then I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Anyone against? Then that is carried. We'll go on to 12.2, which is the Model Dispute Resolution Policy, and I have a recommendation that the report by the Executive Assistant concerning Model Dispute Resolution Policy be received and Council endorse the Model Dispute Resolution Policy, including the dispute resolution form as presented with immediate effect, and appoint an advisor based on their availability from Legat's Dispute Resolution Advisors Multi-Use Register to resolve disputes under Council's Dispute Resolution Policy. Could I have someone to move that? Councillor Lane, Councillor Dickinson. Are there any comments about the policy? This is the Local Government Amendment Code of Conduct, which commenced on the 10th of September 2024, including a new Code of Conduct order. And as a result of those changes, all Tasmanian councils are required to adopt a dispute resolution policy by no later than the 10th of December 2025. And the purpose of the policy is to establish the principles and procedures for dispute resolution with and between councillors related to matters outlined in the Code of Conduct framework. That's just a bit of background as to why we do have the Model Dispute Resolution Policy. So, is there any comments or questions about the policy? As there are no comments or questions, I'll put it to the vote then. All those in favour? Anyone against? Then that is carried. So I'm up to 12.3, which is the Food Organic Garden Organics, which is the FOGO and Recycles Contract Update. So I have a recommendation that the report by Veronica Schilling concerning Food Organics Garden Organics, FOGO, and Recyclables Contract Update be received, and the achievement of Kentish Council to save waste levy of $18,535 between July 24 and February 25 and divert 413 tonnes of material from landfill. Be noted, those statistics need to be noted, and the community be commended for their efforts to date for the current year. Could I have someone to move that? Councillor Richards and Councillor Cassidy. Are there any comments regarding the FOGO and recyclables contract update? Councillor Richards.
Look, I think it's great to see that we've saved 18,000, but I think there's a lot more education need to happen within the community to make sure that more organic waste is actually going to get diverted into compost so that we can save even more of that. I'd like to see us, probably upwards of $80,000 to $100,000 I'd like to see this community saving, and they should be doing that through a lot more use of the FOGO system so that we're not paying for landfill. Thank you.
Yes, we do know that the levy, when the tonnes of landfill are taken to Dalberton, it is $42 a tonne, and next year it'll be going up to $64 a tonne. So we need to be very conscious of what's going into landfill, and the less in landfill, the less cost to our council. Are there any other comments or questions from the councillors? As there are no more comments or questions, I shall put it to the vote. All those in favour? Anyone against? Then that is carried. So we're on to 13, corporate and business services. We have a motion from the annual general meeting, the DNA contamination in COVID-19 vaccines. So at the annual general meeting in March, there was a motion put forward and it was passed, and as a result of that, it needs to come to a council meeting for consideration. And the motion is that the Kentish Council receives the exhibits and findings of Exhibit 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, and in the light of the information contained in Exhibits 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, Council resolves to recognise this matter as a public advocacy issue with potential public health implications, advocate on this public health issue to ensure community welfare and trust, affirm one of our primary functions of the Local Government Act of 1993 to provide for residents' health, safety and welfare, and that we do so with consultation, involvement and accountability. Seek further scientific investigation on the above finding and claims of DNA contamination from our expert federal government Gene Technology Technical Advisory Committee, requesting their reports to be forwarded to our Council, our Deputy Chief Health Officer, State and Federal Health Ministers and Prime Minister, with full and transparent provision to the Kentish community on all reports. As it's a motion, I need someone to move the motion.
Yes, I'd like to support that motion.
I just need a mover at the moment, please.
Move that motion, thank you.
Right, we have a mover in Councillor Blenkhorn. Do I have a seconder?
Madam Mayor, I don't support the motion, but I will second it for discussion.
Right, we have a seconder in Councillor Don Thwaites. So I will ask Councillor Blenkhorn that you have up to 5 minutes to speak to the motion, and then I will ask Councillor Thwaites to speak as seconder. Thank you.
Okay, this has been a bit of a revolving issue. What's happening in Australia at present with the COVID rollout several years ago. Minister Hunt stated to us that we would be open to a big experiment. That big experiment was a vaccination program and a rollout. Some of the alarming things that I've heard, read, and scientific reports that I've seen that have come out of this, and the people here that tonight have got harrowing stories from themselves, from their families, the rise in XX deaths that hasn't been explained to the people. Even on the VAERS database, there's been 1,000 reported deaths, 140,000 adverse reactions. We've seen the banning of the AstraZeneca vaccine. Not many people are aware of this because it wasn't publicised that well, but it happened. The AstraZeneca vaccine was linked to blood clots and heart problems. all around the globe and saw the banning of that experiment. I'm worried about the ramifications and some of the scientific reports that are coming out now with possible contamination, DNA contamination levels in some of the vials of these vaccines that are too high, far higher than being reported to us. And all we get is from the health authorities is it's misinformation. That's their comeback, misinformation. Fair dinkum. Well, I want a bit more than that, and these people in the room, they want a bit more of that too. They want some of that up-to-date information. This motion is pretty basic in what they're asking, what we're asking. And I'm sure if the people around this table can put a bit of thought into this, what we're actually voting on here doesn't make you an anti-vaxxer, doesn't make you want to be anything. It wants you just to get some more information. I know Penny Lane, our councillor over here, one of her friends had a bad reaction to the vaccine. Isn't that true, Penny? Yes. And I'm sure that there's a lot of people that have heard these stories. And I think it's an onus on us. We are elected by the people. The people are here tonight and they want us to see this motion passed. It is a very simple motion. So I'd like to get some support for that.
Thank you, Councillor Blenkhorn. Councillor Twaits, as seconder, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mayor Haberley. There's 4 parts to this motion. The first 3 are about public advocacy and adhering to the Local Government Act, which of course we do. The 4th part is to seek further scientific investigation. So I'd like to deal with that bit first. This part of the motion asks that we seek further scientific investigation into COVID vaccines. The science is complex. The motion challenges qualified professional people and their expertise. If there's any disagreement among health professionals over the science, I do not feel qualified to question their opinions from either side. Let them debate it on a professional level. Kentish Council has no expertise in this area. If an MP like Russell Broadbent is raising the issue, then governments are aware of it. If the Director of Health, Scott McEwen, he is aware of the debate. It is his area of expertise. This is not a matter for Kentish Council. I've asked a number of Kentish residents, including some health professionals here, about the COVID vaccines. They all say, what's that got to do with local government? I repeat, this is not the business of Kentish Council.
There has been no interjection from the floor. Thank you.
And I state categorically that councils should stay out of matters that are not our business, where we have no expertise and no ability to deal with.
Thank you, Councillor.
Now, I'll talk about the other parts of the motion, which are really about undermining the work of the Public Health Department. And are contrary to the Public Health Act, 1997, sections 27A and section 57. The second point in this motion is key and says, advocate on this public health issue to ensure community welfare and trust. What this is actually saying is that we as a council should be out there spreading unproven information, telling our residents to not believe what the health department says, to not trust advice from our doctors and nurses. This motion wants us to say to our residents that COVID vaccines are full of contaminants that'll kill you, and it wants us to say that if you've had a COVID vaccination, you're going to get a turbo cancer. And don't believe anything else the health department says either. That's what's in this motion. It's about creating fear and anxiety, not about supporting our community, certainly not building welfare and trust. So I will not be supporting this motion, and I urge all my fellow councillors to do likewise. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Thwaites. Right. Thank you. So, is there any other councillor that would like to speak for or against the motion? Councillor Blenkhorn, would you like a right of reply for 3 minutes?
Well, anyway, I can see way this is going to roll. It's probably going to be like the AGM. But anyway, I'm prepared to put my card in the rink, and I'll let time will tell us the truth, no doubt, because the truth will come out, and I'm sure that I will be on the right side of history, and because science never stops evolving, it always evolves, you know, and like Minister Hunt stated, we were taking part in an experiment. So when we get the results of that experiment...
Point of order, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
The seconder the mover can't add any new information in the right of reply.
Thank you. No. Thank you, Councillor. Thank you. Just no extra information. Thank you, Councillor Blenkhorn. Are you going to use your time to right of reply?
Well, okay, then anyway, we'll see how the ball rolls, and I know which way the vote's going to go, but anyway, the people will probably even know the way the vote's going to go anyway, so we'll just let it roll.
And I would remind the gallery, please, to show some respect, that no interaction, and if I have to speak, I will be adjourning the meeting. So I'm asking you, please, that it is not a time for you to interject. You are here as a gallery to listen to the debate, not to be interjecting. So we have a mover and a seconder. Are there any other comments or questions about the motion? Then I will put it to the vote. All those in favour? 1. All those against? Then it is lost. The motion has been lost. Thank you. Yeah, well, it's 1 against it. So we shall go on with the meeting.
Disgraceful.
Thank you. So we'll go on to 13.2. We might just... Thank you. We'll be going on with the meeting. Thank you. We'll go on to 13.2. We have a finance report. Would you people in the gallery, if you're moving out, would you please keep moving, please, and have your conversations outside so we can get on with the meeting, please? Thank you. We have a recommendation that the financial report for the period ending March 2025, as provided by the Team Leader Finance, be received. Could I have someone to move that? Councillor Lane, Councillor Cassidy. Are there any questions or comments about the finance report? As there are no comments or questions, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Anyone against? Then that is carried. I shall go on to 13.3. Council allowances and expenses for the quarter ended March 2025. I have a recommendation. I did have. No, I'm right. I'll get it in a minute. I have a recommendation that the report by the Team Leader of Finance concerning council allowance and expenses for the quarter ended March 2025 be received. Could I have someone to move that? Councillor Hughes, Councillor Richards. Are there any questions about the council allowance and expenses for the quarter? Councillor Richards.
Just a comment. You might find that I finally put in some mileage for travelling after a few years. So, yeah, I just thought it was probably time that with the fuel prices the way they are that I should probably claim a little bit. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Richards. Are there any other comments about the council allowances and expenses? If there are no comments or questions, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Anyone against? Then that is carried. So we are now up to 14, Infrastructure and Asset Department, nil. Operations Department, nil. Information, So we have council forums, and I have a recommendation that the information on topics discussed at the 18th of March 2025 and 8th of April at the council forums be received. Could I have someone to move that? Councillor Hughes, Councillor Dickinson. Are there any comments? Miss anything out, or all the topics that we covered there? All right, I'll put it to the vote then. All those in favour? Anyone against? Then that is carried. We have the delegates' reports, and we have a recommendation that the delegates' reports be received and noted. Could I have someone to move that? Councillor Cassidy, Councillor Lane. So I have my list of events and meetings, which is quite long. Been a very busy month, and we have had a great month actually, because we've had all the rowing and lots of exciting things happening in our community. Councillor Lane's report is there as well. And I'm going to ask councillors, do you have a delegate's report, or have you been to a meeting you'd like to report at the meeting? Thank you, Councillor Thwaites.
Just a comment, Madam Mayor, on the amount of hard work that you and Deputy Mayor putting in. It's a wonderful effort. We thank you. And the community thanks you.
Thank you, Councillor Thwaites. I appreciate that. It is a bit. I'd just like to clarify a couple of things in my report. It's second grade match at the Sheffield Cricket Club. I wasn't just down there having a nice afternoon watching the cricket. It was a grand final. So I was down there to try and support the Sheffield Cricket Club. But unfortunately, it wasn't their successful year this year, but they got to the grand final, which is success in itself. Also, the radio interviews, we had a lot going on, and one of the exciting parts was that Leon Compton from the ABC came here to Sheffield, and he was down there near the post office clock, and he loved it. He thought it was just wonderful in Sheffield. I sent him an email and thanked him for coming, and he gave us an opportunity to showcase Kentish, and he wrote back and said he'd had a lovely time in Sheffield, so that was really good. So also the National Rowing Champions obviously were at Lake Barrington. The Lower Barrington Hall reopening, it wasn't actually the reopening, it was the extension of the hall, or the new kitchen, that was the opening, and that was a great afternoon too. So lots of people there, beautiful afternoon tea, so that was really good. Has anyone else got a report that they'd like to give? Thank you, Councillor Hughes.
I'd like to say that the Australian Army cadets are been up to Lake Barrington, and that they are the future leaders of our Defence Force. And what they're putting through, there's a water course there, rolling the canoe and that, and water safety, plus full pack up over Mount Roland. God bless them.
Yeah, good.
And I know I've done it myself. And it's good to see that there's 80 of them there, and they're also spending money in town as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, we've seen them around, so they're supporting our businesses, which is really good. Thank you for that, Councillor Hughes. Anyone else got a report or comment to make? Thank you, Councillor Thwaites.
Madam Mayor, Mount Roland Landcare this weekend gone got underway with their tree planting for the year. The plan is to put in 2,000 trees over the coming 12 months, and they put in the first 220 trees on Saturday morning. So they're away, and coincidentally, that program that has allowed them to purchase trees is funded by the Tasmanian Department of Health in recognition of the benefits of having a program that will do something for people in a community to help combat climate change and to feel part of the community. That money comes from the Department of Health. So, yep, we appreciate that.
Thank you. They're looking after the community. Good. Thank you for that. Could I ask a question about the Mount Roland Landcare? They had a competition for a poetry writing, or
the competition was as part of the Naturally Kentish event, and yes, they had 10 entries in there, and the winner was Annie Willock, who many would know as a councillor here, grandchild. And,
oh, great.
Yeah, and he actually came first and second.
Oh, good on him.
So, with completely different entries.
Yeah.
Yeah, very talented, very artistic, as his grandmother is.
That's right.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you for that. Yes, I've been keeping up to date with the Mount Roland Land Care because I get their emails, and they certainly are doing a wonderful job looking after our environment. Anyone else got a comment they'd like to make? If not, then we do have a recommendation that the delegates' reports be received and noted, so I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Anyone against? Then that is carried. So we have 16.3, which is the decision status report, have a recommendation that the March 25 status report of open council meeting decisions be received. We have an attachment of 3 pages there. Could I have someone to move that? Councillor Lane, Councillor Hughes. Are there any comments or questions about the status report?
Status report. Does that mean I can talk about the curb and channel that's happening out on the way out of Sheffield there? Is that on the process? Would that be in the progress report? The curb and channel on the way out of town here?
Would that be part of a question here? The capital report later? In finance. Okay, so hold on to that question, Councillor Blencorn. Oh, we've been past that. Yeah, so...
missed out. Sorry, I'll leave it for another meeting.
Thank you. So we have a recommendation. Are there any other comments or questions? Then I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Anyone against? Then that is carried. I'll go on to 16.4, which is the Railton Community Information Evening, which was held on the 27th of March. We have a recommendation that the notes of the Railton Community Information Evening held on the 27th of March 2025 be received. Could I have someone to move that? Councillor Cassidy, Councillor Lane. Are there any comments about the Railton meeting?
Yes,
Councillor Blencorn.
I know I've been outspoken against the letterbox drop that wasn't done to the Railton community, and as obviously hasn't been done at this time again. I think we've got 7 community members turned up, so the advertising must be falling pretty short. I noticed we've got the staff numbers nearly overtook the community members' numbers, and I'd like to ask Jason, what would be the cost to have 1, 2, 3, up to 4 staff members there for probably 3 hours? What would be the cost to this council to have 4 staff members there for a community meeting when 7 people turn up?
I'd have to take that on notice, Council. Don't have that to hand straight away.
So, Councillor Blencorn, are you saying you didn't get any notice or emails or any information about the Railton Information Centre? Did you get information about it? About the meeting, the community meeting?
No, on previous occasions we've been letterbox dropping around the town, but that hasn't happened over the past 2 or 3 meetings, and that is why the numbers have dropped off to what they are, I believe.
You believe, thank you. All right, any other comment about the Railton Community Information Evening? Well, we have a mover and a second. Yes, Councillor Thwaites.
I talked to Councillor Blencorn in Sheffield on the night of the Railton Community Information. I asked him why he wasn't going to be there, why he wasn't there.
My question has nothing to do with that, Mr. Thwaites. It was asking why the community wasn't notified about the meeting. Thank you.
Right, any other comments or questions about the meeting? Councillor Cassidy.
I'd just like to say that it was... I'd just like to say it was a very informative event. There was the Dolverton Waste was there, was very informative, and also the SES, and I thought both speakers were well spoken and a lot of information was passed on. I thought it was a very good, and it was a shame that, yes,
And I did get an email from an attendee to say how well the meeting was run and how all the people that were there were listened to. The presentations were excellent, and they were very impressed with the meeting. And yes, I agree, it would have been nice to have seen a few more residents there. So we'll look into that, but I'm sure that we do advertise it, so I'm not quite sure why people are either not just not wanting to come, not able to come, or didn't know it was on. I'm not sure. I can't answer any of those questions at this stage. All right, any other comments or questions? Then I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Anyone against? Then that is carried. So I'll go on to now 17, which is the committees of council. So 17.1 is the Kentish Council Audit Panel meeting. So we have a recommendation that the unconfirmed minutes of the Kentish Council Audit Panel meeting held on the 17th of March be received. Could I have someone to move that? Councillor Lane, Councillor Dickinson. Are there any comments about the Kentish Council Audit Panel? As there are no comments or questions, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Anyone against? Then that is carried. Then we have the Kentish and Latrobe Joint Audit Panel meeting, which was held on the 17th of March. And I have a recommendation that the unconfirmed minutes of the Kentish Latrobe Joint Audit Panel meeting held on the 17th of March 2025 be received. Could I have someone to move that? Councillor Lane, Councillor Richards. Are there any comments about the joint audit panel with Kentish and Latrobe? As there are no comments or questions, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Anyone against? Then that is carried. So I'll go on to 17.3, which is the Kentish Economic Development Committee meeting, which was held on the 26th of February. Have a recommendation that the unconfirmed minutes of the Kentish Economic Development Committee meeting held on the 26th of February 2025 be received. Could I have someone to move that? Councillor Cassidy, Councillor Richards. Has anybody got any comments or questions that they want to ask about that committee meeting? Councillor Thwaites.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. That was really disappointing to read in there about Davies Constructions, the Homes Tasmania contract being cancelled. While I'd heard about it, it was still confronting to see it in print. Yeah, it's upsetting when it could have been a really wonderful lift for our community.
Certainly would have been. Thank you for that comment. Anyone else got a comment or a question about the Economic Development Committee? Councillor Blencorn.
Just like to ask the people on the committee, what was the highlight? What's the highlight? What did you actually get out of the last meeting? Anything positive?
Would you like to comment on that, Councillor Richards?
Yeah, I think, as you quite understand, Councillor Blencorn, on committees, sometimes there's a lot of positivity and sometimes there's some meetings don't seem to bring a lot, but I think this committee has got a firm direction of going forward, and I do believe before this council term is up that we'll set in place something that future councils are going to have to attest to. So while sometimes it doesn't always seem like a lot in a meeting, the plan going forward is very strong. So.
And the council will be doing an economic development strategy, and so that's going to be part of our 25-26 budget to do the economic development strategy, and that certainly will be the basis for our economic development committee and have the focus and the outcomes in that particular area. Because, I mean, let's face it, Kentish is reliant on our economic development and being able to support businesses and encourage new businesses as well, and events and functions and to stimulate the economy. Are there any other comments or questions? Then I will put it to the vote. All those in favour? Anyone against? Then that is carried. So we have now 17. We go on to 18, which is the Council Joint Authorities and Other Committees, nil. Urgent Business, nil. Closed meeting. We have a recommendation that the following items be discussed in closed session. So we have 6 items there. Could I have someone to move that? Councillor Lane and Councillor Twaits. Any comments? I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Anyone against? Then that is carried.
Mrs. Mayor, just before you go to close meeting, I turned my phone on when I left the room, and you answered to cancel link on early in the night that all videos and audios would be turned on. Facebook is full of it. You've not allowed people into the meeting, the same as last meeting, and it is just not right. And you did say the council will look on all that was. I've just been told by the video guys it's not their fault, they've been overridden.
Thank you. I'll take that comment on notice, and I will be now declaring that our open session of the April meeting for the Kentish Council is now concluding. Thank you.